All right. So guys, let's continue further. So last class, we had discussed about the class hierarchy in exception, correct? So exception handling. We saw the hierarchy of classes, and then we started with runtime exception, where we discussed about when do we get arithmetic exception, when do we get null pointer exception, and then we also saw the reason when we get number format exceptions. So these are the things that we covered in our earlier lecture. And also, I have discussed about class upcasting earlier. Now there are certain exceptions that might occur because of class casting. When a class downcasting is not done properly, you will end up seeing class cast exception. Got it? So when do we get this class cast exception is, right? When do we get this particular class cast exception is when you're doing an invalid conversion, okay, with not a proper steps that you followed from parent to child. Example, it is something like this. See here now. I will now create here another class. Right click, right, go to new, select B, delete this all. We'll make A as the parent class. Okay, so let us select here extends A, save all the files, main. Now B1 is equal to new A. You know that whenever you are doing downcasting, we cannot do it directly like this. And when you do this, an invalid conversion, when it happens, what do we get? Class cast exception. So class cast exception occurs when an invalid conversion from parent to child is done. Okay, so class cast exception. Read this here. Okay, read this here. More clear explanation, read this here. A class cast exception occurs when you try to cast an object to a class that is not actually an instance at runtime. Meaning, when you are trying to convert your parent object directly to the child reference variable, these are invalid way of doing downcasting, and that will give you what? An exception. Something similar example we had taken, right? So whenever you're doing an invalid conversion from the parent to child, then that will result in what? Class cast exception. Everybody got this part? We'll keep seeing this a lot in the further projects, so don't worry much about it. When we start working on the actual projects, things will start getting more and more clear. But now we are good to go further, and we are going to start with now arrays in Java. What are arrays? Why do we require arrays? So when we start discussing about arrays, it's a very simple data structure to store values. What do you mean by store values? Let's say I want to store only one value. I want to store only one name. I'll create one variable, string name is equal to Mike, since there was only one name. But if I want to store hundreds and thousands of names, which is a collection of names, I will definitely prefer a data structure. Data structure is a concept that will help you to store collection of values in it. Whenever you have a requirement in your project to store a collection of values, think of data structure. For example, I want to store all your age. I want to store all your names. I want to now store all your salaries. Correct? So in order to do this now, I will definitely use a concept of data structure. Data structure basic necessity is to store collection of values. Example, I'm writing a code for generating OTPs. Now, if 10 people they enter mobile number, OTPs are generated for 10 mobile number. So I have to store all that OTPs, right? It is not one value, it's a collection of values now. If 100 people log in, 100 OTPs are generated. That 100 OTPs I have to store it in a data structure. So I will use a collection. I will use a data structure. The data structure concept in Java is called as collection, which we will learn that in depth manner later. Okay, as of now, I'm just talking about arrays. Why we require arrays? Whenever you want to store collection of values, think of arrays. Is this clear, everyone, now? So how do we do this now? We'll see that one by one. In Java, arrays hold collection of values. Anything that holds collection of values is called as data structure. Array in Java is treated as an object. We'll see that now one by one. Now, when you want to create an array, guys, when you want to create an array, what you will do in Java is you will start with a data type, use a square bracket, new, int, and then you give the size here. Now, since I'm using a new keyword here, what is going to happen behind the scene? What is going to happen behind the scene is something like this, right? Now, since there is a new keyword here, this will end up creating one object. And since there is 3 here, that object will be divided into 3 parts. Part 1, part 2, and part 3. Okay. Now, the part 1 of the object will have the index 0. And this has index 1. And this has index 2. And that object's address is present in what? X. This is all happening in the backend now. Now, if you observe, whenever I'm creating here an array, an object gets created, and there are partitions in that object that will get created that depends on the size that you give here. And the partitioning number will happen to begin with 0. Sir, why it begins with 0? Why not some other number? Let's understand that, but firstly, let me try to print here X. And you see that it prints the address of the object. So there is an object created behind the scene. That object will have 3 partitions, and the first partition starts with 0 index. For what reason it starts with 0 index? Let's see this here now. So when you're creating an array, this storage blocks are continuously created. What do you mean by that? When I create an array with size 3, there will be an array with 3 blocks, and these blocks are next to each other continuous. Got it now? There cannot be, okay, the continuity to be broken. First box, second box, third box, they have to be continuously together. That is what array it tells, that the memory allocation is continuous for storing the data. Now let's assume the starting address of this particular block is 20, right? I created an array like this: int x is equal to new int of 3, new int of 3. Now by doing this, what is going to happen? Since it is int, I can tell each block is of 4 bytes. Can I tell that? Because it is int. If it was long, each block will be 8 bytes. If it is short, each block will be 2 bytes. So this particular block that you see here now is 4 bytes because it is having the data type int. Now the first block starting address is 20. I'm just assuming it. So the next block will start at 24. It will start at 24 because the size of the block is what? 4. So the starting address is 20. So next block will start at 24, and the next block is what? 28. Right? 28. And now there is some data present in it. Let's say I'm storing some data in it: 10, 20, and 30. Okay. Or let's remove this data for time being. Hold on. Now what I will do is I will now put here index 0. Okay. Then let's print here index 1 and 2. Now the question is, why index starts with 0? See, there is a formula array uses in order to store a value in that block and to retrieve the value from a block. If you want to put some value at index 0 and if you want to read a value from index 0, there is some formula behind the scene array uses. Example, when I now write here x of 0 is equal to 10, it has to go to that block that has index 0 and it stores the value in it. But how it does? So array uses a formula start address plus, right, start address plus, it is going to now take here is the size memory size into index number. Okay, now what does this mean? Let's see this here. Now, when I say start address, the start address is now 20. Okay, the memory size here is 4 and index number is 0. So this will be equal to what? 20. Now, when I write x of 0, this formula behind the scene array executes and it understands that the memory address is 20. It will go to that memory address 20 and store 10 into it. Now suppose if I write here x of 1 is equal to 20, then what it will do now, it will again start the same way. The start address is 20, memory size is 4 and the index number is 1. So this becomes 24. Now since we got the address 24, it will take this 20 value, and store here. Now since it uses a formula which is something like this, if you don't start your index with 0, then the first block of memory will get wasted. That's why they started with a numbering 0. Did you understand this now? Why an array starts with 0? Everyone. And see, the memory allocation is continuous. The first block is at 20, then 24, then 28. The complete memory allocation happens to be what? Continuous. Now let's read this here. In Java, array holds collection of value. Anything that holds collection of values is called as, so there are a lot of data structures. We have hash map, hash set, array list, linked list, tree set, correct, priority queue, which we are going to look at in our collection concept, which is a dedicated concept in Java to understand data structures. Is this clear? But for now, we are just going to take arrays and some basic questions they ask in interview on arrays. Remove duplicate elements from an array, sort an array, get me highest salary from an array, lowest salary. That is what we are going to do as of now. Okay, then when you start learning collection concept, you will feel more better when it comes to data structures implementation here. And when you start with stream API with collection concept, that is what usually we use it in projects. Okay, now anyways, array in Java is treated as an object. Do you agree with this point? So when I'm creating an array, an object is getting created. Array starts with index 0. Make sense? To store and read values, we use this formula in arrays. What is that formula? Okay, memory allocation happens to be in sequence, continuous. Whenever you create an array, the memory allocations of the block has to be continuous in your RAM. Okay, now let's start storing the values in an array and reading that. So here the first index is 0. I'll store the first value. Now we know what is the formula running behind the scene. X of 1, let's store 20, x of 2, and let us store here 30. Fine. Now control shift F and that will format the code. Now to read the value, we will write x of 0 and then let us type here SYSO x of 1 and then let us write here SYSO x of 2. And there you go. When you run this, it gives you the output. Now, in order to learn arrays in proper way and some logic building basic one, if you want to do it, you should know loops, concepts, and conditional statements. Until and unless you don't understand the loops, concepts, and conditional statements, we cannot build any logics in programs. They are very, very important and powerful statements which every programming language provides. They should be loops, they should be conditional statements. Let us understand now one by one about the loops. Then I'll come back to arrays and continue again further. The first thing that I'm going to talk about is a loop called as for loop. So I'm going to use a different IDE for now to demonstrate that, which is IntelliJ, right? Later, we will teach you all of these IDEs in my advanced classes. Definitely, I will not use Eclipse. I will be using IntelliJ for our project work. As you see, some projects we are building for some senior batches, and there definitely this tool is preferred because the performance of this is very good. This is my personal, opinion, because I've used Eclipse, I've used STS, IntelliJ, VS Code. Eclipse, to certain extent, yeah, it is popular among the students, and some companies even today they're using Eclipse. But when it comes to advanced programming, I prefer IntelliJ and VS Code for Angular. If you're going with VS Code, then Angular, and I've used VS Code for Terraform. There is one particular concept I've covered, Terraform, where I'll be teaching you HashiCorp configuration language. There you will see VS Code, I'll be using it. Okay. Now, you need not do this, you practice in Eclipse only. Okay. I have here a class A. Now let's build a for loop. In order to build a for loop, we just type for. We start off with something called as a condition variable. Int I is equal to 0, then there is a condition check 10, or let's keep it 5, and then I plus plus. And now what I'll do is I will just print here I, but I'll put here a breakpoint, and now I will run this application in the debug mode. Fine. So you can understand how the for loop works now with debugging, isn't it? We need not go and take a pen, pencil, and then start drawing there around it what's going on, right? So now notice what is the value of I? 0. Now if you notice here, you can just check when I now select this particular statement. Okay, you can just check here. You can just check here, right? What is it returning? True. Why is it true? Because the value of I is 0. 0 less than 5 is what? True. And here, if you notice, the value of I is as of now what? 0. Now you entered the loop and you print what? Now, observe the flow now. Observe the flow now. So I will now use here step over. Just like how we have step over in Eclipse, we have step over, step into, step out. Same features. Got it? Now I will use here step over. See, from this closing bracket, it goes back. Here it was 0 plus plus. Now you notice, when I now again do step over, what happened to the value of I? So this was 0 plus plus. When I now go back, it makes it 1. Again when I go back, it will become 2. Again when I go back, it will become, and again when I go back, it will become 4. When I go back 5, this condition is false. What is it printing now? 1. Now again I'll go back. Value of I was 1. When I go back and proceed further, this 1 plus plus will become now 2. Did you understand now? And this condition check has happened. 2 less than 5. What? True. Observe now. Again I go back. The value of I will become 3. So here it is. Now 2 plus plus it was. This 2 plus plus become, it has now become 3. Observe now, it is 3. Now go back. What is it now? 4. Go back. Now 4 plus plus will be 5. So 5 less than 5. This condition is true or false? So did the loop stop? Yes. See the output. Easy way, shortcut way to remember. Keep the starting value. 2. Check the condition. Okay, if it is I less than 5, which means it should be 4. Loop will run 0 to 4. Shortcut way to remember. This loop will run 0 to 4 5 times. If I write here 50, the loop will run 0 to 49. If I write here 500, loop will run to, simple way to remember. Did you understand now? But did you understand how this is working? Analyze once quickly. And if yes, I will take some simple example and explain that to you people. Is this clear? We'll build a simple program now. Let's try to do that. Okay. So in order to make you understand the for loop, when to use, we will take one simple requirement. The first thing is, what I'll do now is I will talk something about scanner classes, and then we will start working on the requirement. Scanner classes. Scanner classes, okay, scanner classes used to provide user inputs. What is it used for? Providing user inputs. Whenever you want to provide a user input, whenever you want to provide a user input, we use scanner class. Let's say I want to type something from the keyboard and my Java code has to take that input from my keyboard. If I type 100, it should read that. If I type Mike, it should read that. Taking this user input, for that, a particular Java class is there called a scanner class. Now we create a scanner class this way. We type scanner, control space bar, and import from the built-in package util. And then you can type here scanner, and then we will type system dot in. Okay, so this will help us to build a scanner class object. Now you can type here SYSO, enter your name. So when I now enter my name from the keyboard, that name reading we have to do. So this scanner object has a next method. What method it has? A next method. And this next method will read the name and will simply print that name. Will simply print that particular name. Fine. See this here now. Okay. So we are going here and running this particular application. Fine. So I'm going to here now step over. Okay. What is it doing now? It is at this line. Step over. Now what is it doing? Moment I came to this line, you see the window opened up. And it's telling now, go to that window and type the name. And this next method will read that name. I will type Mike. Now when I type Mike, this next method started reading this. And that name now, it has kept into the variable, step over, into the variable name. It has kept into that particular variable what? Name. Okay, and that value then it will get printed here. Are you understanding now? Yeah, for some reason it has just stopped here, but I need to hit on enter, then only it will continue now. Until and unless I don't hit on enter, the name is not getting copied from this next method, is not copying the name here. Are you understanding now? You have to type name, hit on enter. When you hit on enter, now the next method reads that name and stores that into the variable name. Now if I try to print name, see what is the value it is having? Mike. Step over, what is it printing? So now again observe what happened. What happened? Tell me. So when I now run this in debug mode, I do a step over. You see that moment I come to this line, what happened? The window opened up, enter your name. Now when I enter the name Mike and hit on enter, when I hit on enter, the name Mike next method will read and store that into the variable name. And now when I do step over, it prints the name. Did you understand now? This next method can read only string values and it can read only one word. If I now type Mike Tyson, see, it does not read that. The next method is capable of reading only one word. If you want to read multiple words, we will type here next line. Are you understanding now? If I now run this, observe, what is it printing? Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson. Now, until and unless you don't hit on enter, the data will not go to the variable. Hit on enter, now see. So if you want to read one word, next, if you want to read multiple words, next line. Okay, now let's continue further. Now here I already have a concept of scanner classes, right? So we will quickly have a look at it. Unary operators already you guys have uh, gone through that, correct? But now we will take here some examples. So I have a scanner class, and let's see this here. Okay, the example for the scanner class. Can you see that now? Next method, if I use, it can read only string. If I use next int, it will read. If I use next float, it can read. And if I use next boolean, it can read. Now if you don't write scan.close, you will see a warning. The scanner objects are not going to be removed from the memory until and unless you write scan.close. This is not an ordinary class whose objects is automatically removed from your memory. If you want this object to be removed from the memory, you have to terminate your scanner class with close. Only when you do that, the scanner object created is flushed out from the memory. Is this clear? Now see, run in debug mode. Let's put here a breakpoint. Run this in debug mode. Fine. Step over. Okay. Step over. Now observe. What is the first thing you will enter? Can I enter one word or multiple words? One word. Hit on enter. What is the next thing? Okay, hit on enter and then step over. What is it printing? My name, your name is. So you notice what it did? It is taking the string and concatenating with name. When you use plus operator with a string, it does concatenation, joining. Can you see? It is joining the name Mike with this fixed string. Got it now? So anything with a string, when you do plus, everything is converted to string. Anything when you use a plus with a string, everything is a string. Meaning, look at the next example, you'll get to know. Enter your age. Now, what is that I'm going to enter here now? What will I enter here now? Let's say some age. Hit on enter. Now see, what is stored in this variable? Integer. Now when I do step over, you see anything you add with a string, the complete line will become string. Observe now. Now this whole line is a string now. I added string with a number, but the end result is completely it's a string. That is concatenation. Did you understand? Anything if you add to a string, it becomes a string. You add a number with string, full statement is a string now. Is this clear? Everyone? Okay. Now the next thing, step over. What should I enter now? Some weight. Enter. Now step forward. Enter your weight. Right? Enter your weight. That's done. Step forward. Okay. Now enter your answer. True or false. Right? Hit on enter. Now you can see after hitting on enter, step forward. Okay. So it takes the boolean value. Enter your answer. Your answer is now this, and then close it. Did you understand now? Each of these methods can read only particular kind of value. String, integer, floating value, boolean value. Did you all get this? Online students, are you all clear with this part? Please tell me. Online students, are you all clear with this part? Please tell me. Did you understand this example? Yes. Any questions, queries? Do you have it here? Do you have any questions, queries here? Any doubts? Clear with this part? Okay. Now we'll take one requirement. The requirement is, guys, now you have also completed these assignments. Huh? Only IAB is covered, SIB and super keyword. Okay, then let's do one thing. You cover this part firstly now. Is this clear? Because that will take near about to 1 hour. Finish that off firstly. Finish this assignment, SIB and super keyword. Okay? People have to prepare notes on that. Then I'll start taking loops in detailed manner. We'll take some small requirement problem statements. We will use for loops, conditional statements, understand that in a better way. Let's not do it today. Today, you take this assignment near about to 1.5 hours assignment lecture, that is. How many hours? 1.5 hours. And prepare the notes on this. Assignment 4 and 5. Okay, is this clear? We'll talk about that. Throw and throws keyword and all, it is further concept. That is to do with exceptions concept. Exception is not over. We have started with arrays because after learning arrays, you can understand array index out of bound exception. You don't even know arrays. Then how do I teach that exception? So exception concept will now go on till the end. Exception is not over. These are all exceptions concept only. I'm started with arrays because with arrays you will see array index out of bound exception. Got it? So we have started with arrays. Then you will see file handling, because with file handling you will see exceptions related to that. Then we'll see JDBC. With JDBC you will see SQL exceptions and things like that. So all the concepts with exceptions we are going to take further. Okay. Then you will see custom exceptions. Then you will see throw versus throws keyword. Things like that. Multi-catch blocks. Okay. Like this you will be learning. Try catch finally. All that we will be seeing it further one by one. So this is with concepts we will be learning exception further. Okay. No doubts in today's class? Okay then. Bye bye. Take care.